So in the very first session, we discussed about what does it mean by Oracle Fusion Cloud applications. Okay, and Oracle, what does it mean by financials also we discussed. So what is the meaning of Oracle and what does it mean by application? What is financials, Fusion Cloud altogether? So Oracle Fusion Cloud financials applications, what does it mean? That's what we discussed. So these are the points. I'll be sharing this sheet also. I'll place in the Google Drive. So this is the first session which we discussed. And in the second session, we discussed about P2P and O2C cycles. Okay. Two cycles put together we discussed. Okay, how those are very much connected. What are the common applications? Which applications are very specific to P2P and O2C? In today's session, okay, let's talk about few things related to application. So I'll take you few points where you have to understand about application. After that, again, we'll proceed with some sort of discussions which are really required. When you do the courses which are functional, when you talk about technical, directly you can learn how to write the programming. You don't need to understand much. You have to understand how to write the programming. But when you do the functional courses, like it could be financial functional or SCM or HCM functional, take any functional courses, the theoretical conceptual understanding is very important. Directly, if you jump into the application, we can go and do many things. But the bottom line that will help you off of the conceptual understanding only will help you a lot. I could say the conceptual understanding is required 70%, the 30% system understanding is required. If you focus on learning about how to use the system, that won't help you a lot. Theoretically, you have to understand what does it mean, how we should understand, how this can be used. Those points you have to understand. Once you understand theoretically, so system practice anyone can do. Okay. So whatever we are going to do in the system, first we'll understand theoretically. Once we are comfortable, we'll proceed with the system. So in the initial classes, we'll focus on more on understanding the system or certain concepts. Then we'll start working on the system. And for entire course, whatever we are going to do in the system, before we do anything in the system, we'll discuss and we'll understand. Then we'll start with the system related practice or testing or whatever we call. Okay, so we'll do that. So in the today's session, let's talk about if any user need access to system, if any user required access to the system, what privileges that user is required. When you do the implementation for any client, Oracle will provide the user. Okay, Oracle will provide the user to our client. Our client will share the same user with us since we are going to work as a consultant. What exactly consultant would do? What does it mean by ERP? There are many points which you have to understand. I'll find the right time and we'll discuss those. But now let's discuss what we can understand in the better way. When you get access to instance, okay, how will get Oracle will provide the user for the client, and that same user they will share with us. We can connect to the instance. So here we are talking about instance. Okay, here we are talking about instance. What is the meaning of instance? Okay, what is the meaning of instance? When I talk about meaning of instance, instance is the environment where you can have all the applications inside of it. Okay, where you can have all the applications inside of it. So within the instance, you can have all the applications. So you are going to implement financials, SCM and HCM for your client. Now you will get instance from Oracle. You will get instance in the sense your client will get to whom you are going to do the implementation. Okay, so you are going to do the implementation for XYZ company. Simply XYZ company we call as our client. XYZ company will get instance from Oracle. The same you will get from the XYZ company, since we are going to work as a consultant for that company to implement Fusion applications. So whatever the instance client is getting, within that instance you'll have applications. Okay, you'll have a different applications. So that could be AP or AR, CM or FA, whatever. Okay, you'll have a applications inside of the instance. So you'll have a different applications. Fine. So when you have applications, by using those applications, you can do the implementation. Okay, what does it mean by implementation? It's all about taking the requirement and setting that application ready so that user can use it. But we'll discuss more detail level. For now, let's focus on what does it mean by instance. Instance means which contains different applications. Okay, along with that applications, within that same within the same instance, you can find the database also. Okay, within the instance, you can find the database inside of it that we call as application. To store the data, okay, from all the applications, there will be database also. So this is how you can have a instance. So instance means there will be multiple applications inside of the software package. Instance means the software package where you can have applications. To store all the applications data, there will be database. Okay, I'm representing these the square boxes as applications, and this is the database. And already discussed what would be part of application. You say application, within the application will have pages or forms which refers the application functionality or features, and every application will have a set of reports, and every application data need to be stored in the database in the respective tables. For every application there will be separate tables. So that's how you can use the application. When you talk about instance, every instance will have a multiple applications inside of it. Every application will be connected to the database. So that's how you can find the instance. Application means pages, okay, reports and database connection. That's what we discussed. So it's a very simple point. Instance means, when you talk about term called as instance, it is nothing but copy. If you look at the English term, instance means copy. That means this is a copy of the software which we get from Oracle. Whatever the software Oracle is developed for the companies to use for their business process maintenance and data maintenance, whatever Oracle built, that we are calling as instance. Instance is nothing but copy of the product. Okay, simply you can say software product. So that instance, as per Fusion Cloud, we call as a pod, POD pod. Okay, it's a pod, POD pod. We have iPod. In the same way, it's a very lightweight product. So that is the reason we call it as POD pod. So instead of calling as instance, from now you can call it as a pod. Pod is nothing but software package which we get from Oracle through cloud. Okay, since we are accessing that product through cloud, that we are calling as a pod. You can call as instance or you can call it as a pod. So if any client is going to implement Oracle Fusion Cloud applications, the client will get access to this pod from Oracle. When client will get the access to this pod, Oracle will provide the username and password. So the same will get from our client to start working on that instance. So you can get the username from Oracle, or else we can create our own user. Generally, when you do the implementation, whatever the user Oracle provide, we may not use it. We'll create our own user with our design name and we'll start working on the application. So very first point, when you start working on the instance, the very first point is we have to create user. Okay, we have to create the user. You take example of Gmail or Facebook. If you create the user in the Gmail and Facebook, if you sign up to Gmail and Facebook, by default you can have access to all the functionality. Okay, if you access to Facebook, there is a lot of functionality. You can do many things. Okay, you can add the friends, you can find the friends, you can create the groups, you can send the mails, you can do many activities. If you take the Gmail, yes, you can send the mails, you can receive the mails, and you can do the chat, and there are a lot of functionality inside of it. By default, every user will get, okay, the functionality which Facebook or Gmail is provisioning by default for every user. In the same way, when you get access to the instance, which access we required, accordingly we have to set something. When you access to Gmail or Facebook, so when just create user, whatever that Facebook or Gmail allowing every user to access that, you can get it. But when you deal with the Fusion instances, when you create the user, you should take the decision which user required access to what, that you have to set. So that we call as provisioning the access, giving the access to the user to do something in the instance environment, that we call as provisioning access. So we have to provision the access to the users, which user required access to what. So that access provisioning we can do with the concept called as roles. Okay, we have a concept called as roles, and again roles are classified. Again, roles are classified into different types, but this is not the right time to understand what are the type of roles. Going forward, we'll discuss. But for now, simple point you can take. If you want to give access to any user to access the Fusion applications or Fusion instance, we have to provision the roles access to that user. Based on the roles what we are giving to that user, the user will be able to have access to certain area of the applications or certain activities user can do. That's what we have to understand. So when you are going to work as a consultant, okay, when you are going to work as a consultant to do the implementation for any client, where we'll keep that instance, all the applications ready so that the client can start using. How we can keep those applications ready to use by client, that will understand. Once you understand the applications, once you do that configuration and all, will come to know. But now you no need to focus on that point. So if you want to work, if you are working as a consultant for any company, any implementation, so when you get access to the instance, what privileges we require, that we have to understand first. So by default, we need access to two roles. Okay. If you are going to work as a consultant, we need access to two roles. Okay. We need access to two roles. The roles are application implementation consultant. Okay. Application implementation consultant, that is a one role. The second role is IT security manager. Okay. IT security manager. These two roles are required. Okay. These two roles are required. With the help of these two roles, we can get full access to entire system. As a consultant, you can do anything and everything whatever you want to do in the pod environment. Okay. If you have access to these two, you can implement any application. It could be payables or receivables or GL, or it may be all applications. It may be all financials applications or all SCM applications or all HCM applications. It could be anything. Okay. You may implement all the financials or HCM, CRM or PPM or SCM or procurement. Any applications you can implement if you have access to these two roles. Okay. So what is the difference between these two roles? Okay. What is the difference between these two roles? When you talk about the application implementation consultant role, okay, if you have access to this role, say you have a user called as ABC, to that role you assign this role. We have to assign the role to user. Say you assign this application implementation consultant role to your user, ABC user. Now what that ABC user can do? If you assign this application implementation consultant role to your user can connect to FSM. Okay, your user can connect to FSM. We'll discuss what does it mean by FSM. If the user will get connected to FSM, what that user can do? That user can do the setups, or you can call as configuration. Okay, so if any client wants to use payables application, the payable application we have to keep ready as per their business requirement. Keeping some application ready, that we call as setups or configuration. Take example, you purchased AC. If you purchase AC directly, you cannot use. That AC need to be installed wherever it is required. In the same way, if any client is going to buy the software directly, that cannot be used. Okay, to install AC, some technician is required. In the same way, if any client wants to use any application, consultants are required to set up that applications ready so that that will be available for the companies to use. So that we call as setup or configuration. You can refer with any term. You can call it as we have to set up accounts payables, account receivables, fixed asset, general ledger, cash management application, or you can say we have to configure applications so that client can start using those applications. Okay. So how we can configure? If you have access to application implementation consultant role, that role will give you the access to FSM. With the help of FSM, you can do the setups or configuration. What does it mean by FSM? Okay, what does it mean by FSM? FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. FSM stands for Functional Setup Manager. It is setup manager, which can be used by functional consultants. Okay, the functional consultants can use this environment to do the setups. Okay, and you can manage all the setups. Okay, functional consultants can do the setups, and the same setups can be managed. So that is the meaning of functional setup manager. By using the functional setup manager, you can do any application related setups. If you say any application related setups, you can implement any applications. If you do any application setups, that is nothing but implementing the application only. How reality this works, we will see in the system environment going forward. For now, just you have to understand these points. Okay, just I am trying to introduce these points, and the purpose of that, how reality would be, that we have to see in the system. Okay, so that is the purpose of application implementation consultant role. Okay, we have one of the role in the application. Okay, that role is application implementation consultant. With the help of application implementation consultant, we can access the FSM, functional setup manager. If you access to a functional setup manager, FSM, what we can do? We can do the setups, or you can say configuration, to do the implementation for any application of say any client. So this is the point you have to understand. And what is the purpose of IT security manager role? Okay, what is the purpose of IT security manager role? If you have access to IT security manager role, okay, if you have access to IT security manager role, you can get the access to environment called as security console. In the system, there is something called as security console. Okay, security console. If you get access to security console, what you can do? With the help of the security console, you can create the new users. When you do the implementation, we have to create n number of users. We have to create the n number of users. Say in their payables department, there are 20 users who are working to manage the payables related data in their organization. If 20 users are working for payables department, for our accounts payable application, we have to create 20 users in the system. That we can do by using the security console. Create users. And for payables users, we have to assign the payable related roles. to allow the payables user to have access to payables application, we have to assign payable related roles. What Oracle is doing, for every application they are giving the separate roles. If one user required access to payables application, we have to assign the payable related roles to that user so that that user can work on the payables. If one user wants to work on receivables application, yes, we have to assign receivable related roles to that user. Say one user is going to work on fixed assets, that user required access to fixed assets application. So we have to assign fixed assets application related roles to that user. So that's how we have to assign the roles to user, which user is going to work on which application. Okay, we have a application specific roles. For every application, Oracle is providing the roles. Okay, every application Oracle is providing the roles, but we can create our own roles also. What are the roles we create? Those we call as custom roles. We have a separate session to understand how roles can be created. Okay, here simple point what we have to understand is when you do the implementation for any company who are working on the system, for every person, every employee, we have to create the separate user that you can do from the security console. And for every user, they are working for which department. Accordingly, we have to assign the application specific roles. Already we discussed for every department, we have a separate application from Oracle. So which user is going to work on which application, accordingly we have to assign the roles. Assign roles to the users. And every application Oracle is providing the roles. Every application Oracle is providing the roles. So what are the roles Oracle is providing? So for AP and ER and GL, I'm not taking all the application for our discussion, all are not required, just simple point. So for AP, say Oracle is providing the 3 roles. Say for AR, Oracle is providing the 5 roles. Say for GL, Oracle is providing the 5 roles. Take this simple example. Okay. So for every application, Oracle is providing the few roles. So whatever the roles Oracle is providing, those we call as seeded roles. Okay, those we call as seeded roles. Those we call as seeded roles. What are the roles Oracle is providing for every application? Those we call as seeded roles. Say for AP, Oracle is providing the 3 roles. Okay, 3 roles. But in AP, one user required access to something. If user need access to something in the accounts payable application, whatever the roles Oracle is providing, those may not be okay. What Oracle is providing, say user need access to 2 functionalities, but what are the 3 roles Oracle is providing? Within the 3 roles, there may be more than 3 functionalities or less than 3 functionalities, 3 features. So what are the roles Oracle is providing? If those are not okay as per our requirement, what we have to do is, as per our requirement, we have to create the new roles. We have to create the new roles. We have to create the new roles as per the business requirement. How to create, we'll understand going forward. What are the new roles we are creating as per business requirement? Those we call as custom roles. Okay, we call as custom roles. Custom roles nothing but new roles whatever we create. If you are creating some roles in the system as per our business requirement, as per our client requirement, those roles we call as custom roles. Whatever the roles Oracle is providing, those roles we call as seeded roles. You can call as seeded roles or you can call as Oracle delivered roles. Oracle delivered roles. Oracle delivered roles means what are the roles Oracle is providing, those we call as Oracle delivered roles, or simply you can call as seeded. Seeded means which comes along with the product. You don't need to do anything. If you buy the product, if you subscribe the product from Oracle, you get those roles, those we call as seeded roles. For every application, Oracle is providing the seeded roles. Okay. And if you create as per your requirement, those you call as custom roles. When you do the implementation, in every project you have to create the new roles as per the business. Okay, as per the business you have to create the new roles. So those we call as custom roles. Just try to understand the difference between these two terms, seeded roles and custom roles. Seeded roles means by default, what are the roles Oracle is providing, those we call as seeded roles. Apart from that, what are the roles we create, those roles we call as custom roles. Now here, with the help of security console, you can create the new users and you can assign the roles to that users. Okay, and if at all you require, you can create the custom roles also. Okay, these are the primary points which you have to understand when you look at these two roles. These two roles also we call as seeded roles. These two roles we are not creating. When you get access to application, within the applications we can find it. I mean to say application means instance or say pod. When you get access to a pod, these two roles would be available within the instance. That means what are the roles are available in the product which are Oracle, which are provided by Oracle, those we call as seeded roles. So if you are going to work for any project as an implementation consultant or support consultant, what is the difference between implementation consultant, support consultant? Those points also we'll discuss later. This is not the right time. So whatever it may be, if you are going to work on the project, you need access to minimum these two roles to start with your implementation. Okay, so that means we have to create the user and we have to assign the roles to that user. We have to create the user and we have to assign the roles to user. So what is the purpose of each and every role also we discussed. If you assign the role called as application implementation consultant role to user, that user can connect to FSM, functional setup manager. If the user can connect to FSM with the help of application implementation consultant, what the user can do? The user can do the implementation for any application, full privileges. Along with that, we have to assign the IT security manager role also to the user. So if you assign IT security manager role to any user, that user can get access to security console environment within the system. So that user can create the new users and the user can assign any role to other users, and that user will be able to create the custom roles also as per business requirement. So this is a simple point you have to understand when we talk about the user. Okay, when you talk about the user, so this is a very simple point we have to understand when we start with the implementation. Any questions on these points, please? And one more point, if you know something about Fusion, okay, don't refer those points with our discussion. Okay, so if you know something, if you start speaking about it, if I start answering, it would be unnecessary information and it will create the confusion for other participants. Okay, when you are attending these classes, think you don't know about Fusion, if you already know some basics or etc. Okay, don't consider those, try to understand these points from the scratch. If you know something, if you are asking the questions, that will become little irrelevant in our discussion. Any questions here, please? Any questions from anyone to understand these points, please? Okay. The point is very simple. When you are going to work as a consultant, whatever the user we are going to use, that user need access to these two roles. That is a very important point which you have to understand. Okay. Now what we'll do is, we'll go and create one user and we'll assign these two roles. The very first point is, the first step is create user, and the second point is we have to assign roles to user. If you have a user, just a user, you cannot do anything. Okay, so you cannot do anything. If you create a user, only user will be there. With that user, you can log into the instance. When you log into the instance, you cannot do anything. No permissions will be there. If you create a user and if you log into Gmail or Facebook, you will have a lot many permissions. The reason is the Facebook and Gmail, they written the coding and all. If anybody is going to create the user, in our server by using our application, by default all the privileges, also privileges can be given. But in our Fusion instance, okay, if you create any user, no privileges to the user. Intentionally you have to assign the roles to give the certain privileges. The user need access to exactly which application and which process and what and what. So that's what we have to do. First create user, then assign the roles to user. And in the Fusion applications, when you create user and when you assign the roles to that user, the assignments need to be updated. Yes, you can create user and you can assign, but which user, what roles you are assigning, that information need to be updated. That we call as synchronization. Okay, synchronization. As per the system, whatever the activity you are doing, that need to be synchronized, that need to be updated. For that we have to run the synchronization process. Okay, run synchronization process. If you run the synchronization process in the system will take all the updates for which user, which roles are assigned. Accordingly, system will allow the user to have access to the same roles. So these 3 points we have to perform so that we can get ready with the user. With the help of that user, you can do anything in the system environment. Okay. Now we'll go and create the user and we'll assign the roles to that user and we will run the synchronization process. Okay. See, first we'll create the user. After creating the user, we are going to assign the roles to that user. Okay. After creating the user, you are going to assign the roles to the user. So say for example, online you are filling some application. Okay, online you are filling some application. So after entering complete data, what you have to do, you have to click on save. If you click on save, the data, the record will be saved. After saving, generally we do some activity. What is that activity? There will be activity called as, the most of the cases, submission, right? You will submit. You will create, you will enter some data and you will save that. After saving, the overall data, whatever you enter, that need to be submitted. Equal to that, here we'll create a user and we'll assign the roles to that user and we'll save. The user, which user you created and which roles you assigned, everything you have to submit to the server so that system will start considering so and so user is created, that user so and so roles are assigned. So if you log into the instance with that user can have access to the roles, which roles are assigned. If you don't submit this synchronization process, the synchronization process is equal to submit. Okay, if you don't run it, even if you have a user, you assign the roles to that user. If you log into that user, you may not get access to FSM and to security console if you don't run this synchronization process. You may get, may not get. Both cases are there. Oracle is strongly recommending when you create the user and when you assign the roles, please run synchronization process so that whatever you assign to that user will be able to have access to the same. So that is a point we have to understand. Is it clear or any questions on this?
Thank you.
Yep. Fine. Now we'll go and see how to create the user, how to assign the roles, how to run the synchronization process to keep that user ready to access the role related privileges. So now we'll go and see how to create the user. Okay, this is the cloud instance. We'll share the same instance for your practice also. We'll provide the instance URL and the login credentials. So with the same credentials, you can connect to this instance and you can create your own user. Okay. So this is a cloud instance. This instance you can connect from any device. No prerequisites to connect to the instance. You don't need to install any file, nothing. Even you can connect to this instance from your smartphone. Okay. Any device which is connected to internet, with that you can connect to this instance. Now I'm going to log into this instance with the user whatever already I created. Okay, we will provide you one user and password. With that, you can log in and you can do the same activity which we are going to do now, like user creation, roles assignment, submitting the synchronization process. Fine. So I'll log into instance with one user. Okay, this is the instance. So when you deal with the instance, there will be many things which you have to understand. Slowly we'll understand one by one. Now let's target to create the user. Our target is user creation. Once you log into the instance, what you have to do is the left side on the corner on the top, you can see bar icons. Okay, there are some bars. You place the cursor on that. It is showing as a navigator. Okay, it is showing as a navigator. Just click on that navigator icon. Click on the navigator icon. It is opening some panel. Okay, it is opening the panel. Within the panel, you can see many names. It's all whatever you see is all this user is getting because of the roles which are assigned to this user. The user called as FA student, that user got access to certain roles. Because of the roles, this user is able to see all these. Okay, fine. Now what we want to do, we want to create the user. If you want to create the user, click on the navigator. Click on the navigator icon. Within this panel, go to tools. Okay, we have a tools section. We have to expand it. Okay, click on tools. It will expand what we have inside of the tools. Within the tools, we have different names. This is all we call as a tasks. Okay, as for Fusion, whatever we do, almost everything we call as a task. Call as a task. Click on navigator. Under tools, we have a many tasks. These are the different tasks. So from where we can create the user, already we discussed. From where we can create the user? Anyone?
Security console.
From security console. Yes. Now we have to go to security console. Click on navigator. Under tools, you have to select security console. You have to select the security console task. If you click on security console task, it will take us to security console page environment. From there, you can create our own user. Please go on mute. Somebody is unmuted. Any question? Please let me know. If no question, please go on. Okay. So click on security console. Just click on security console. Okay. Now we are in this page. The left side, you can see the different options. Select users. Select users. Click on the users. Here, we are going to create the new user. Okay. To work as an implementation consultant, we need full privileges. We can get full privileges with the help of application implementation consultant and IT security manager roles. We'll create our own user and we'll assign the two roles to those users. So after selecting the users, here you can find one tab called as add user account. You can find one tab called as add user account. Click on add user account. So we are going to create the user. Okay, we are not going to create the employee. Remember, employee we have to create. How to create we'll understand later. Okay, when you are dealing with a fresh instance, when you are doing the implementation for any client, there won't be any sample data in those instances. Okay, there won't be any sample data in those pods. So that instance we call as fresh instance. Okay, what are the type of instances we can have and what is the purpose, that also we'll discuss. For now, not required. So what are the instance we use in case of client implementations? Those instances we call as a fresh. Purpose can be anything. What are the purposes? What exactly meaning of the purposes we are going to discuss later. For now, try to understand. When you get access to client instances, those are fresh instances. In fresh instances, we have to create our own user. How we can connect to the fresh instance? For every fresh instance, Oracle will provide one user. With that user, you can log in and you can create your own user. In the fresh instances, first we have to create the user only, not employee. Okay. Once we are ready with a few setups, then only system will allow us to create the employee. First, we have to create the user. So let's provide the data for mandatory fields. You don't need to provide first name, email ID. All this information is not mandatory. Simply provide last name of the user. I'm giving the username as ERPTREE. If you want to provide email, yes, you can provide, otherwise not an issue. That is the optional field. You see, so last name, they given the star mark. For email, there is no star mark. When you see this star mark, okay, you can understand the field is mandatory. If no star mark for specific field, the field is optional. That means without entering that data also, you can save the record. So that's what we have to understand. Last name field is mandatory. That is the reason we entered. Whatever the last name we given, same name system is copying as a username. If it is okay, you can accept, or else you can change the name. Yes, we need username also as ERPTREE. Now provide the password. So here you can see the information icon. If you place the cursor on that, it is showing password policy. It's a very simple policy. At least 8 characters, one number need to be included in the password. So by following that password policy, you can set the password. Okay, I just given the password and you have to confirm the same. Okay, confirm the password. Now click on save and close. Just click on save and close. Our user will be ready. We saved our user. If you want to find our user, we are in the user section. Okay, these users are selected. You could see in the white color the selection. So we created a user. Let's find out our user. What name we given? We given as a ERPTREE. Click on search. So you can see display name. Display name means whatever the first name we given for user, that is the system is showing as a display name. The other column is username. The user is ERPTREE. We didn't provide any email ID, so no email ID. And this user status, it is active. This user account is locked in this environment. No, it is active. It is not locked. If account is locked, you cannot log in with that user. And here you could see some actions. Click on this drop down option. So if you want to log this user, you can log. If you log this user, you cannot log into the instance with this user. If you want to reset the password for this user, yes, you can select reset. It will allow us to reset the password. With any reason, if you want to delete the user, yes, you can delete the user also. That is possible. They give an option to delete. Okay. So this is what we have to understand about user record. Now, if you want to open that user definition, you can click on the display name or you can click on username. Here, let's see how to reset the password. Say you created a user, later you want to change the password for that user. In that case, you can select reset password and say manually change the password. So what password you want to view, you can provide here. And click on reset password. Okay, done. Now you don't need to test how to lock and all. This is a simple point you can understand. Lock account means with this user you cannot log in. Delete means the user will be deleted. So these are the points you have to understand. Now let's click on display name or username. Okay, you can click on display name or username. That will navigate to user creation page from where we created a user. Okay, just click on display name or username. So from here only we created user, right? You can click on edit. You can see the fields also. So we created username and we given the last name and all. So that's how we given. Later, if you want to give the email ID, first name also you can give by clicking on edit. Okay, this is how we have to create. So after that, we have to assign the roles. That's what we discussed. Okay, we have to assign the roles to this user. Minimum how many roles we have to assign to get the full access to the entire instance? These 2 roles. Okay, these 2 roles we have to assign to the user. One is the application implementation consultant to perform the setups with the help of FSM, and IT security manager role to create the users, to assign the roles, and to create the custom roles with the help of security console. Okay, now where we are in? We are in the security console only. That means we have to understand the current user, FA student user got access to IT security manager. From the current user, we are in the security console. That means the current user got access to say IT security manager role. That's what we have to understand. Fine. Now we have to assign the roles to this user. How to assign? Click on add role. Okay. So it is not like you have to create the user and again you have to search and find the user, then only you can create the user. No. When you click on add user account, you can provide the last name and username, password, and confirm the password. Here you have a add role tab. After giving all these details, okay. Okay, after giving the username and password, directly you can assign the role by clicking on add role. But just to understand, we saved and again we just identified our user account and we are clicking on edit and we are trying to do that active. Okay, directly from here you can. So click on username. So to assign the roles to this user which is already created, click on edit. Okay, click on edit. Now we have to assign the 2 roles to this user. To assign the roles to this user, click on add role. Click on add role. So what are the roles you want to assign? One is application implementation consultant. Search for application implementation consultant role. I'm typing only application implementation. Okay, basically we have to assign application implementation consultant role. But I typed only application implementation. So that system is showing what are the different roles are available which starts as a application implementation. You see the role names: application implementation administrator. Okay, the same again, application implementation administrator. What is the difference between these 2 roles? The application implementation administrator role name is same, application implementation administrator role name is same. Here difference is under that role there is a role code. One role code is starting with ASM, other role code is starting with ORA. That is the difference. And somebody copied the same role. Which role they copied? Which role code is ASM? Okay, application implementation administrator role somebody copied. You can copy the roles. What are the roles Oracle is providing that you can copy and you can modify, you can use as per your business requirement. Somebody copied. Just notice these points. And another role name is application implementation consultant. For consultant also we have 2 definitions. Only code is different. It is starting with ASM. This is starting with ORA. And the same role somebody copied. The same role somebody copied again. Sorry. One second. The same application implementation consultant somebody copied. One is ASM based one copied, other one is ORA based copied. The other one is application implementation manager. Okay, the same you can see as a 2 copies, 2 definitions. One is starting with ORA, another one is starting with ASM. The same somebody is copied. This is what you can notice here. Okay, so since this instance we are using for testing, somebody copied. Okay, that is a point we have to notice. So we have an application implementation administrator, application implementation consultant, application implementation manager. But what we discussed, we have to assign application implementation consultant role to user. So why we have to assign only application implementation consultant? Why can't we assign administrator or manager roles? The reason is only application implementation consultant role will have full privileges to the system. Even if you compare with administrator or manager, you can find all the privileges inside of the application implementation consultant role only. Don't assign application implementation administrator or manager. Those roles has limited permissions only, the very limited privileges only. But as a consultant, we need full privileges. That is the reason you have to assign application implementation consultant role only, not application implementation administrator or manager. Remember that. So you have to search for application implementation consultant. Now the same role you can see as the two definitions. For the two definitions, we have a two copies. When you are working for your client, until unless you copy, you don't find these last two definitions. Only you may find as a application implementation consultant and application implementation consultant where the role code is different. Or else in most of the instances, Oracle provide only one role, that is application implementation consultant. So whatever it may be the case, what we have to do is you have to select application implementation consultant role. Never select which are copied. Here the suffix you can see as a copy. Don't select this. Even if you see never select, you have to select where role name you could see exactly as application implementation consultant. Say Oracle is giving these two copies. Which one you have to select? Any one you can select. Both roles will have the same privileges. But why Oracle is providing the two? There is one point you will understand when you do the role customization. The point is related to customizations. At the time of customizations, we will discuss. But any one of the role you can select because both are same, only codes are different. You will have a equivalent privileges. Okay. Search for application implementation consultant and select the first one or second one. Both are same, only codes are different. It is starting with ORA, this is starting with ASM. It is starting with ORA, ASM, this is directly ASM. So no difference, you can select the first one or second one. I'm selecting first one. Okay, application implementation consultant. Against this role, somebody created copy, the same system is displaying. Now how to assign this role to our user? Click on that role, you can see the selection. It got selected. Click on the role, it got selected. Now click on add role membership. Click on add role membership. It is nothing but assign role to user. They are not giving the tab name as assign. Instead of giving assign, they are giving add role membership. So if you click on add role membership, this application implementation consultant role will be assigned to our user. Click. You can see in the background application implementation consultant role is assigned to our user. We have to assign one more role, right? The role is IT security manager. Now we'll go and assign IT security manager role to user. Right. So search for IT security manager. So here also you can see two copies for IT security manager. One is starting with FND, other one is starting with ORE. These two somebody copied and they given the name as copy, and again they are addressing do not use. They might have done some changes, that is the reason they are saying don't use. Even they say use also, we don't use it. Reason, we have to use whatever Oracle is providing, not what somebody created. Okay. So here we have IT security manager two copies. One is starting with the FND, other one is starting with the ORA. So you can pick any one of the copy, that will be fine. Both will have the same privileges. Okay, customization point of view, you have to understand what is the difference between FND and directly ORA. The customization session, I'll take you through all those points. So for now, doesn't make any difference if you select first or second. I'm selecting first one. So IT security manager, again it's the same, somebody created copied role that you can ignore. First one you select, click on that, system will select the role, click on add role membership. Now we assign two roles, whatever we require. Click on that. Now click on save and close. There are a few points: assignable, auto provisioned, add, auto provision roles. These are the different concepts which we have to understand when we are discussing the same. Okay, so you cannot test all those things and you cannot understand now. Once we are ready with the required setups, then only you can work on those points. For now, try to understand how to create the user, how to assign the roles, which roles we have to assign. That's all. Now click on add and do save and close and click on done. Our user is ready. So here you have a user section. You can click on user section. Anytime you can come to this page, you can search for your user and you can click on the username. And if you want to assign additional roles, you can click on add, edit. You click on add role. You can assign additional roles. What are the other roles we required? Those you can assign. What are other roles we required? How to assign these points? We'll see later. Okay, this is how you can assign that. So we created user, we assign the roles to the user, and now we have to run the synchronization process. So what are the roles? Please.
So there is a done, right? After you're clicking the add membership, is it a required thing to do, or we can just simply close that?
Okay, after assign the roles, you have to click on OK and you have to click on done. I'll take you through that. 1 second. Okay, here we are assigning the roles, right? So I'll assign another role also, but not required. Just for our discussion. Assign.
So you clicked on add membership. Done is required, or we can just simply go and close it from the into mark.
Anyone you can use. Anyone you can use. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
and how about the logged account, right? If
close it. See, done means it will close it. 1 second. I'll assign.
Okay.
Application implementation consultant. I'm assigning the second copy. The first copy already we assigned. First role, second one. So see, once I click on add role membership, you can notice in the background it is adding the role, right? Once it is added, you don't need to do any action. You can click on done. This pop-up will be closed, or else click on cancel, close.
Okay.
Anyone you can use. Since the done is next to add membership, since we use this add membership, we move to done. That's all.
Okay, thank you. I had one more question regarding the logged status. If user tries to enter some incorrect password, is it the account is going to show as logged, like how in eBiz it shows, like when multiple times of entering of the wrong password, the user account gets logged, right?
That
is it similar kind of that?
That sort of conditions you can set. Okay. That sort of conditions you can set. What should be the password policy? How many times that password should be expired? If you enter wrong password, how many times it should go like locked? And another point is you can reset the password yourself. Okay, you can provide the email ID. You can provide the email ID. If you don't know the password, Oracle is giving the reset password. If you click on reset password and if you specify your user, reset password link will be sent to your email ID. Okay. If you forget password, you don't need to worry about it. You can just go with the reset password. However you reset the password for Gmail or Facebook, in the same way in our application also we have that option for instance. Fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I just assign the roles twice. I'm removing those. We don't need IT security manager twice. And application implementation consultant also 2 copies. Now say save and close. You should say save and close. You should not say cancel. If you cancel whatever you assign, system won't consider. Once you assign the roles, you have to click on done. Then you have to say save and close. Any changes you do related to role, you have to say save and close. If no changes, you can click on cancel. Click on done. Fine. So we created a user and we assigned the roles. Two roles we assigned as we discussed. What is the purpose of the two roles? Already we discussed. We will go and see in the system also. Now what we have to do? We have to run the synchronization process. Okay, we have to run the synchronization process. So the synchronization process name is LDAP. Simply you can call as LDAP. You can call as LDAP job. Okay, run LDAP job. LDAP. Instead of calling as LDAP, we simply call it as LDAP. So what is the meaning of LDAP? LDAP stands for L stands for lightweight, L stands for lightweight, D stands for directory, A stands for access, P stands for protocol. Okay. So lightweight directory access protocol. This is one of the service available within the instance, which will make sure that every user, what are the roles we are assigning, accordingly system is working. Okay, what are the users you create, that information need to be updated in the LDAP. What are the roles you are assigning to the user, those will be updated in the LDAP. What Oracle it is, when you create the user, automatically user will be updated in the LDAP. LDAP is a directory service. Okay, you don't need to understand more detail level, simple point only you have to consider. That is a technical thing. Okay, not functional. So, but just we have to deal with that, what level we have to deal, we are discussing those points. When you create the user information will get stored in the LDAP services, LDAP directories. When you assign the roles to user, which roles you are assigning to which user, those also will get stored in the LDAP. That happens automatically. Sometimes system may takes time to update users and the roles whatever you are assigning to the users, that in the LDAP directory services. So if system is taking time, if you try to log into the instance with the same user, you can log in, but what are the roles you assigned, accordingly you cannot get access. That is the reason what Oracle is recommending. When you create the user, when you assign the roles to that user, everything will get synchronized automatically. But sometimes system may takes time. So that is the reason Oracle is recommending better you can run this LDAP job, so that if any delay from system, this job will force the system to complete immediately. So that is a recommendation from Oracle. That is the reason you can run the LDAP job. Even if you don't run LDAP job also, synchronization will take place automatically, since we have auto synchronization in the system environment. Okay, so that is the point we have to understand. But what you can do is, whenever you assign the roles to the users, run LDAP. It won't take time. Just within few seconds you can complete this and you can proceed with your work. Fine. Let's see how to run the LDAP job. Go to our user. Okay. Go to navigator. Click on navigator. So it will open the navigator panel. Within this navigator panel, you can find the tools. You can find the tools section. Under tools is all we are calling as a tasks. Each one is task, one task. All are tasks. So by selecting security console task, we created our user and we assign the roles. Under tools, you can find one more task called as scheduled processes. Okay, scheduled processes. Click on scheduled processes. Okay, click on scheduled processes. So now what are the page we are able to see? This page we call as with some name. The page whatever we see there, the page name is ESS job page. Okay, this same term we'll keep using. So the page name is ESS job page. Here ESS stands for Enterprise Scheduler Service. Okay, ESS stands for Enterprise Scheduler Service. Okay, Enterprise Scheduler Service job page. Page means is page. What is the meaning of job? By using this enterprise scheduler service, you can submit something to the system to process. Now we are going to submit the LTAP job by using the ESS job page to synchronize the users and user related roles. Right? The page which you are able to see, this page we call as ESS job page. ESS stands for Enterprise Scheduler Service, which will process the data. This page itself, it can generate the reports also if you want to generate the reports for any application related data. Okay, from this page only you can submit any job. You can submit any job. Job is nothing but request. We can submit the request to the system to update something, to display some report or etc. Right? So we are in the ESS job page. How we navigated? If you want to come to this ESS job page, you have to click on the navigator. You have to go to tools. By default, tools will be collapsed mode. You have to expand it. You have to click on the tools, it will be expanded. Under tools, we have a task called as scheduled processes. Click on scheduled processes. Now we are landing in the ESS job page. From here, we have to submit LDAP job. Okay, we have to submit LDAP job. So to submit the LDAP job, click on Submit New Process tab. Click on Submit New Process tab. Click on this. So here system is selected. We have two options, job and job set. If you are going to submit multiple jobs, multiple requests at a time, you have to select the job set. Now we are going to submit only one job. The job name is LDAP job. So you don't need to change this, accept as this. Now click on this drop down. Click on search. Search for the job. So you can type LDAP. Okay, type LDAP, click on search. How many jobs are available which includes this LDAP term? System will display all the jobs, but we have to submit only one job. We'll see which job is that. Click on search. So the very first job we have to submit. The job name is retrieve latest LDAP changes. Okay, retrieve latest LDAP changes. Just select this job. See the selection, you can see directly, you can click on the name, or else here we have the beginning of this record. Here we have the section arrow. If you place the cursor, it is showing arrow. There also you can click, the record will get selected. So by clicking on that, you can select save OK. Now this job system will select to run. So whatever the job you submit in the instance, you can see the description. That means the purpose of the job. What is the purpose of this retrieve latest LDAP changes? The purpose is the job will synchronize the users, user related roles. Within the role, what are the permissions or say grants we have, everything it will update in the LDAP directory services. The purpose of this job is to synchronization. What we are going to synchronize? Users, roles, within the roles, what are the privileges or say grants, permissions, what we have inside of the roles, everything will get synchronized. So that is the reason we are running this job. Save OK. Click on OK. Now click on submit. We are submitting this job. Say OK. System is triggering some job ID. Okay. So it is triggered, it is running for that job identification. It is providing one number also, process ID. Save OK. Now here click on refresh. You can see the same what we submitted, right? So this is what we submitted. So now you can see the status as running. Now say I submitted just now this job in this instance. In the same instance, if you are going to submit the same job at a time, okay, I mean same time, I submitted the job just now. Okay, same time, if you are going to submit the same job in the same instance, when you submit, For our job, system will show the status as a blocked. For me, it is showing as running. It's already running. When the same job is running in this instance, if any other user is going to submit the same job, it will show as a blocked. Once my job is completed, that other job will be released and it will run. Till the time, it will show as a blocked. When you submit the job, when you are practicing, when you submit this job or any job, if you see the status as a blocked, you have to understand already this job somebody is running. So that is the reason. Okay. So you have to, if when you see your job is blocked, you don't need to worry about it. Already somebody submitted that job itself, it will take all the updates. What are the user you created? What are the roles you assigned? That information also system will synchronize. So only one job need to be submitted, more jobs not required. When you're practicing, same time if some other person also doing this practice and if they submit the same job, if you see your job status as blocked, you don't need to worry about. So you have to understand the situation. So some other user also already running, that is the reason your job status is blocked. Once that job is completed, which is submitted by other user, system will initiate your job also to process. Okay, so that is a point we have to understand. Any questions from anyone, please? Fine, no questions. So any questions from anyone, please? Okay, so when you submit this job, okay, it takes time. It takes time, but what you can do is you no need to wait to see the status as succeeded. The final status it will turn into succeeded, but reality you no need to wait. One side system will do the auto synchronization, other side manually we are submitting. So you can assume that already system done that synchronization, and or else what are the job you are submitting, that can just complete the synchronization without taking much time, but it will show the status by taking some time. So generally when you submit any job, what you can do is you can wait for 1 or 2 minutes, then you can proceed. You don't need to wait to see the status as succeeded, but automatically the synchronization will take place. That's how everything would be ready. Now what we did, we created our own user and we assigned the roles to user and we submitted LDAP job for the synchronization from ESS job page. That's what we did. Now what we'll do is we'll log into the instance. Okay, we will log into the instance and we'll see, because of IT security manager, our ERPTREE user is able to access to security console or not, we'll check. Because of application implementation consultant role, our ERPTREE user is able to access to FSM to perform the setups or not, we'll go and check that. Okay, we'll go and check. So sign out from this user, confirm the sign out. Now log in as a ERPTREE user. Created a user called as ERPTREE. Fine. Now go to navigate. The first point will verify this ERPTREE user got access to the security console or not, will check. Click on the navigator, the bar icons. So here, click on tools, will be expanded, and under tools, you can see the task called as security console. If you are able to see the security console here, the simple point is the IT security manager role is assigned to this user. That's all. If you don't see security console here, it is not assigned. Okay, that is only the point we have to understand. Since we assigned IT security manager role to this user got access to security console. Just click on that. We'll go and verify whether we are able to create the new user from this user. Select users. System is displaying the add user account tab also. Click on that. Okay. Just I'm checking. Yes, we are able to create the user also. There are many points which you have to understand that we'll see in the sequence of classes. So for now, this is the first point which we are verifying. This user got access to security console. We are able to create the users. We can assign the roles, everything we can do. Now the second point is application implementation consultant. This should allow us to access to FSM. We'll check whether this user got access to FSM or not. How to check? Okay, we know how to navigate to security console, how to create the user, how to assign, how to reset the password, how to manage that user information. We know, we have already seen. But how to access to FSM? If you want to have access to FSM, you have to click on the username. If not username, next to user there is arrow mark down direction. So you can click on that arrow mark or you can click on the username. Just click on the username. It is opening the panel. So within the panel, if you see the task called as setup and maintenance, that means this user got access to FSM. This is FSM related task. If you find this setup and maintenance task within this panel, how we are navigating to this panel, just log into the instance, click on username. Okay, just click on username. Once you click on the username, it is listing out many tasks. To navigate to FSM, we need task called as setup and maintenance. Since you are able to see setup and maintenance task within this panel, you can understand this user got access to FSM. Anyway, we'll go and verify how FSM looks like. So click on setup and maintenance. Okay, this is a FSM page. Now, if you want to do the finance implementation, here you have a setup section. Select financials. Select financials. If you want to implement general ledger application, select general ledger. Once you select here, it is showing all the tasks. To implement general ledger application, what setups you have to do, system is listing out. Now with the show, you have to select all tasks. Here you can see list of setups which you have to complete to implement the general ledger application. In the same way, if you want to implement, say, payables application, select payables. Here, select all tasks. You can do this payable related setups. These all are payable setups. How to do the setups and all we'll discuss and do it. Just to introduce this FSM section, we are going through all these points. Otherwise, this is not the right time. When we after discussing about payables, then only we'll start with the payables. But just for information. If you want to implement receivables application, select receivables. Okay, select receivables. Here it is displaying the receivable related tasks. If you want to see all tasks, select all tasks. So that means this ERPTREE user got access to FSM. Any implementation you can do from here. If you want to do procurement related implementation, yes, you can do it. If you want to do order management implementation, yes, you can do that. So this is how we have different selections. Accordingly, you can select what we call the selections and all. That is separate point. We will be discussing in the next session about those. For now, what we are trying to do, we are checking this user got access to security console as well as FSM or not. Okay, this is a point we have to understand. Any questions from anyone, please?
Lakshman?
Please.
So you might be covering this later, but I just wanted to check whether you'll be covering this. The tax transaction it shows as
Your
shared,
voice
right?
is not clear and not much audible. Possible, can you just check your system to increase the volume?
Yeah. Can you hear me better
Yeah,
now?
now better. Yeah.
So next to the application, right, like module, it says shared. What does that mean? Will you be covering that later?
Everything we will cover.
Satish?
Everything, whatever
Okay.
you have to understand, I'll be covering everything. No need to worry about it. We have to first understand about FSM. Okay, in the next session, I'll talk about FSM only. We'll discuss about FSM, what we can do, what we cannot do, what are the different options are available, and whatever you are telling, what is a shade. And if you go with some other task, you will be finding as a scope. Okay, here you have a scope, etc. Everything we'll discuss. You should understand those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks. Any questions from anyone, please? No questions. Fine. So that's how we can create the user. When you do the implementation, when you are working as a consultant, ideally we need one user with the full privileges. So if you assign these two roles, those two roles related privileges are more than enough for us to do implementation. Now let's talk about instance. When you do the implementation for any company, by default, Oracle would provide two instances. Okay, by default, Oracle would provide two instances. Oracle will provide two instances. Oracle will provide two instances. One instance we can use for the purpose of testing. One instance you can use for testing. That instance we call as test instance. We'll discuss what is the meaning of it. Okay, just to understand the point. One instance we'll use for testing, that we call as test instance. Okay, test instance. And we'll get one more instance from Oracle. Okay, when we are doing the implementation, every client will get two instances. One is test instance for testing purpose, other instance is production. In short, you call it as prod instance. From production, we are taking the short name as a prod, that's all. Okay, when you do the implementation for any client, every client will get two instances, or say two pods. Okay, POD, pod. Two pods every client will get. So why we are getting two? Okay, we need one. For one client, one is enough. But why we are getting two? There is a reason. When you start with the implementation, okay, so we have to create everything and we have to show to the client. So this is how you can use payables. This is how you can use receivables. Okay, so this is how you can create invoice. This is how you can process the payment. This is how you can generate the reports. So all this we have to show to the client. And how we have to show? First we have to ask the client what you want to do in the payables, what you want to do in the receivables as per your business. We'll take all that information that we call as requirement gathering. When we talk about real-time related classes, we'll discuss those points. In real time, how we handle the projects, I'll take the class on that also. At the time, I'll talk more detail level about that. But now simple point is, when you do the implementation for any client, what we have to do is, we have to test everything. We have to test everything. Whatever client need, that is working or not. Okay. Before that, to test it, we have to keep ready everything. We have to set up. We have to set up and we have to test. We have to show to the client. If once everything is fine, if client says, okay, we are happy with the system and whatever the process you are showing, yes, exactly that's what we need. Before that, we'll ask them what they need. We'll take those points and we will show to that client. Okay, we'll give the presentation to the client how that can be used. Once everything is done, what we'll do is we will prepare this production instance. Okay, we will do all the setups in that. This instance client will use to record their day-to-day business transaction. This is a real instance. Before you keep it ready, So everything will show in the test instance. Okay, or else you can say test environment or test pod. Any name you can use. Test instance or test environment or test pod. The same way production instance or prod or production environment or production pod. So by default, every client would get two instances. One is test instance, other one is production instance. When you do the implementation, first we'll start with the test instance only. We never touch production, not required. Once the solution is finalized, okay, we'll talk to the payables department, receivables department, what they want to do, what type of invoices they want to create, what type of payments they want to process. So we will do the payable application ready with the setups so that we will test first. If everything is working fine, then we'll show to the client, yes, this is how you can record invoices, this is how you can process the payments. This is how we'll just use that. Okay. So once everything is finalized, if client says, okay, we are happy with the system, what you presented, that's our requirement, then we will do all the setups in the production instance also. Then we'll ask the client, you can use it. Okay, test instance only to testing purpose to verify something whether things are working fine or not. But production instance is the real one which client will use whenever, how long they will use this vision applications. Okay, this is the difference we have to understand. If any client require more than these two instances, they have to pay extra to Oracle to get more than this two instances. Okay, by default, every client will get only these two instances. If any client is going to take Fusion Cloud subscription from Oracle, Oracle will provide two instances. This is one is a test only for testing purpose, not to enter real business transactions. This is the one which will be used by client. This will be used by us as a consultants. Okay. So once client will start using this instance, in this we should not do any testing. We should not touch also as a consultants. We should not touch to do some testing activity. Anything you want to test, we want to verify, we always use this test instance only. So this is what we have to understand. This simply you can call it as landscape of instances. How many instances we use in the project, that you simply call as landscape of instances. Okay, two instances we get from Oracle. One is test, other one is production. Okay, that is the point you have to understand. So if you are going to do some customizations, first you do the customizations in the test instance only. Okay, you can do the customizations. You are going to create the custom reports. If instance is, okay, if instance is SaaS, PaaS, IaaS we discussed, right? If instance is PaaS instance, okay, if instance is PaaS, okay, you can do the product customizations. So first we'll do the customizations in the test instance only. Okay, any sort of testings or any customizations first we'll create here only. If those are working fine, those will move from test instance to production instance so that client will start using. So test instance you can use for development purpose also. If you are going to do some customizations, the customizations you can call as developments. For creating something in the system we call as a development. So test instance you can use for customizations also. When you use this test instance for customizations, those instance you can call as development instance also. But if client is going to do many customizations in case of the PaaS environment, what client will do is client can have a separate instance from Oracle for development purpose. In that case, they will have a one more instance, but Oracle won't provide for free. By default, they'll provide only two. If you take the subscription from Oracle, it could be for finance, only finance, or finance and SCM, and finance, SCM, HCM, CRM, PPM, etc. You may take few or multiple. You will get by default two instances. Ideally, use one instance for testing, other instance for production, where real users will be using, business you will be using. And if you want to do developments in the test instance itself, you can do. If you think you have to do many developments, many customizations, as a best practice, what company will do is they'll get one more instance from Oracle. Okay, they'll get one more instance from Oracle. So testing and all they'll do in the test instance, but developments, customizations and all they do in the development instance. Separate instance they can get, or else they can use the same test instance for developments. Okay. they can do the developments. This we call as development instance. So this development instance, in short, we call as dev instance. Okay, we call it as dev instance. So this is the ideal landscape for the instances. In case of SaaS, generally we don't need any development instance. We go with a test instance and production instance which Oracle provides. If you are going to opt for PaaS subscription from Oracle, it will allow for customizations. If your client needs additional functionality, then only will go with a PaaS. So in that case, they can get separate instance for developments, or else some clients won't go for separate instance. Testing or developments they'll do in the test instance only. In that case, for testing purpose, development purpose, same instance. Or else you can have a separate instance called as development instance. Development instance, in short, you can call as dev instance. Test, dev, prod. This is what we have to understand. Any questions on this, please?
Can you go a little up, Lakshman? So user gets assigned, he has to have application implementation, FSM setup responsibility, is it? For him to
I never used a term called as responsibility. Role.
Those two roles.
Okay, use the same terms.
Roles. Okay.
If you use your own terminology, that doesn't work. Okay, I'm using what you should use when you are using this application. Okay, user needs to these two roles. Yeah, please go ahead.
Earlier in ERP, we used to have specific setup responsibility like OM setup, pricing setup, finance APR setup, right? So we used to partition, like if he's SCM guy.
No. That you will understand when you go forward. Since you have some prior experience, you are referring that. So those we call as responsibility in EBS. Okay. So how that's different from this, you will understand in the further classes. This is only for setups. This is only for setups. Any application setups, you can do this. For each application, you need to have separate thing, same as EBS. If you are referring EBS. This one.
So in that case,
finance guy will get to complete any application related setups. Yeah, please go ahead.
SCM guy can go and do finance setup in that case.
Anyone,
because he gets
anyone. This will give the access to everything.
Is there a way to curtail that?
You can customize it.
I see.
Yeah, you can copy this application implementation consultant and you can remove what you can just select whatever you require that you assign to the user, so that what permissions you are giving, that only that user can access.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any questions from anyone, please? Okay, fine.
The second one, can we call it as like typically a sysadmin, IT security manager, like creation of user?
That role is administration role only. Okay, administration. When you say users creation, roles assignment, customization, something like it's administration kind of activities, right? So that that to admin role.
Okay.
Fine. Any questions from anyone, please? Okay, no questions. So in tomorrow's session also we'll be working on the system. Okay, in tomorrow's session we'll discuss about FSM. What does it mean by FSM? What we can do, and we'll start working on the FSM. Tomorrow entire session will be working on the FSM, so that will be very much fine with FSM. In the next weekend, again we'll discuss few theoretical concepts before we proceed with the session. So we'll discuss and understand few concepts, conceptual based, and after that in the next weekend also we'll be working on the system. Okay, so this is how we are going to see the tomorrow and the next weekend. Any questions from anyone, please? If no questions, we can wind up for today. Any questions, please?
Hello, Lakshman. Is there any limit for creating users?
No limit. No limit. But reality, what we have to do is, for how many users you are taking the subscription from Oracle, those many users only you have to create. System point of view, no limit. Okay. You will take the subscription from Oracle, right? In case of cloud, you have to take the subscription. In case of on-premise, you have to take the license. So when you take the subscription from Oracle, say you are taking the subscription for financials, you have to specify you need subscription for how many users. Say for finance, you have a 50 users. So accordingly, you have to pay to Oracle 50 users and financials applications. Accordingly, you have to pay. Financial applications and 100 users means price is different. So system will allow you to create n number of users, but you have to create as per the subscription for how many users you taken. Otherwise, Oracle will do auditing. They'll identify if you create more users, and accordingly there will be some penalty or actions if you violate that subscription rules. Okay.
Okay, but when we get any fresh instance, we won't be having any user which is already existing. So when we want to create any new user, we will be creating it from the user which is already existing. So how can we do that?
Now, to connect to the instance, Oracle has to provide an ID, right? That they don't count as a one user in our account. If you take 50, the whatever the user Oracle is providing, that doesn't count. Ideally, the users which you create, the employee users will come into the picture, not the user which we created just now. This is for implementation purpose. Okay. If you take the subscription for 50 users, the 50 users should be employee users, employee related users. You will understand how to create employee users and all. But when you start with the implementation, first we have to create the user which we are going to use for implementation. This user you can call as implementation user. Now just whatever the user we created, ERPTREE, that user is for implementation purpose. This user doesn't comes under that count. Okay.
Lakshman, but in test instance, can we create for that user, for test instance user,
Test
Oracle
instance
doesn't
you
charge,
can
right?
create n number of users. That is applicable only for production instance. Okay, test instance to test, you can create n number of users. You may take the subscription for 50 users, you can create 1,000 users. Okay, anyway, you are not going to use this instance for reality, just to
Yes.
for verification purpose. No issue.
Yes.
What issues with this? The real one which you are going to use, if 50 means 50 only. Whatever Oracle is providing extra, that is okay. But to use the users which are used by your business users who are working for your finance department, that should be 50 only. Okay, if you take subscription for 50, it should be 50. That's all.
Yeah.
Test instance a n number, no issues, because you are not going to utilize this test instance for your business for verification purpose to test something how this is working, that is working, and say tomorrow user will be working on this production instance, they got some issue. You cannot test in this by replicating the same. That you have to do here. Okay, that is the reason test instance Oracle won't verify, validate, since it's a test. It's not real. The real one is production. There, the subscription policies will be applicable. Any questions, please? Okay, who got access to instance? You guys can start practicing. So try to complete that user creation, because tomorrow again we are going to work on instance. So whatever we complete on so and so day, try to complete on the same day, so that things will be connected easily. Today we are creating an instance. You are going to create user after 2-3 days. Certain points cannot be connected. Since we discussed easily, when you are practicing all those points, you can recall and you can understand in the better way. So try to complete the practice on the same day if possible. That really works really good. Any questions from anyone, please? If no questions, we can wind up for today. We'll connect tomorrow sharp 8 o'clock and we'll run the session up to 10 o'clock. We'll discuss and we'll work on FSM for tomorrow entire session. Any questions, please?
Yeah, Lakshman. This is general question. It is not related to the session what we had today. Like in EBIS, right, we have Oracle ETRM where we can refer to the table names and all, right? In Oracle, similar kind of thing, do we have anything where we can look what are the table names and all?
Yeah.
Sorry, in Fusion.
Yeah, directly from application, you don't have option to see the tables, but the complete table information Oracle is providing. Okay, Oracle is providing the separate option, which you call as UCM, Universal Content Management. In our classes, I'll take you through that. From
Okay.
application, you cannot find. From application, we cannot find. Only UCM, you can find all the tables information. And from application, if you want to query and see the data in the tables, yes, we have that option. Database connection we have. Okay, that also we are going to cover in our classes. Whatever.
Yeah, I got that. From the application, we won't be able to see. Yeah. Okay.
Fine. Any other questions, please? Okay, since no questions, then that's all for today. We'll connect tomorrow same time and we'll continue from here. Okay, thank you all. Have a good day and good night.
Thanks, Lash.
Yep. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.